Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melissa Caprio.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. How is your new year starting so far? I hope everybody's doing well and setting some good intentions for what we want to bring in for ourselves for the new year. It's always a good place to start in January, right? Like refresh, reset button, and we're like, okay, what is it we want 2024 to look like in our lives? So it's always good to think about that. I have a bunch of things that I want to bring into my life, and I will be sharing those as I go along. But today I have a really cool show. I have author Elizabeth Mugavero as my guest, and she's going to join me in just a few minutes. And she writes fiction, and they have a magical element to them. And I am almost finished with her book right now, and I was telling her before the show that I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. So, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about writing today. So for those of you who are new to tuning into my show for the first time, I just want to say a big, warm welcome. And to my regulars, thank you so much for joining me each week. It means the world. But a little bit about me, if you haven't experienced my show before, I am a photographer, and I'm also an author. And I have a book. It's nonfiction, and it's titled Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams. And my book is all about manifesting and using the law of attraction to bring into our lives those things that we want to consciously co-create with the universe. So what I did was I asked people to create a manifesting postcard, and it's kind of like a mini vision board. And the beginning of the year is always a good time to do, people like to do vision boards in the beginning of the year, but the difference with the postcards I ask people to just work on one area at a time with each postcard. And when they create the postcard, they send it to me. I photograph it. And when their story or what they put in their postcard shows up in the reality, I share their story with their permission, of course, along with the image of the postcard. And that's basically, in a nutshell, what the book is. And there's 30 of those in the book. And I broke it down into money, love, health, career. And those are the main areas where we always want more abundance. And I have so many writing exercises in the book that helps us get clear on what it is we want to manifest, right? Because we're not always sure. Sometimes we'll say like, oh, I want, I just want to feel happy, or I just want to feel peace. Well, what does that look like to you? And you might not always know what it looks like. So the writing exercises are to help you get really clear on what that looks like. What does happiness look like to you? What does joy look like to you? What does love look like to you? So, because we're not always sure. We think we know, but when we have to articulate it, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So if you're interested, you can find my books, of course, on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or you go to your favorite bookstore, and if it's not there, they will order it for you. But I also started last year, a month ago. No, but it's more than a month, probably about 4 months ago. I started doing live readings from my book, and I'm releasing a video a week, and they're about 5 minutes long. And it's each person's postcard, and I'm reading their story, and I'm showing the postcard. And I started doing it on my social media, Instagram, TikTok, and then I post them on LinkedIn and YouTube. So you can follow along that way. And if you do, just, say hi, let me know that you're seeing them, and, share around with your friends if it resonates with you, which I hope it does. So the postcards that are in the book, I decided, because the book came out at the end of 2019, right before COVID, so it's been a few years now, and I decided to re-photograph the postcards that are in the book, and I've been releasing each of those every week. Usually on Mondays, I call them my little magical messages, and the affirmation that goes along with it. So this week's is "And So It Begins," which kind of just fell. It just fell that way, which is perfect because, as I said earlier, January is a new beginning. So what are you beginning this year? Now, something to think about. What is it that you want to start? What have you been sitting on and saying, oh, I'm going to finally get to fill in the blank, whatever it is for you. And now it's the time to do that. So think about that, and what do you want? Like I said, by the end of 2024, what is it that you want to manifest? I ask people each week to send me a manifesting postcard, so please do. And if you want to know how to do that, you can go to postcardstotheuniverse.com, and I tell you how to create one. And there's an address listed on there about where to send it, and let me know that you sent one out to me so I can expect it. I love getting them in the mail. I get so excited. So yeah, create one. They're a lot of fun to do also while you're doing it. It's fun to tap into your creativity, right? I think that's a really powerful way to manifest, and a lot of us forget that, as adults, we have so much to do. We're so busy, we're so stressed, we have so many obligations, and getting to be creative it shifts our energy, and it shifts our vibration, and it raises our vibration, actually, which is why these postcards work, because that's really what we're doing. We're raising our vibration so that what we want will match it. I started a couple of workshops, and one is called Manifesting Through Gratitude, a visual journey, and that runs Thursday evenings, 6 to 8 p.m. It's online, and it's about using gratitude for what we already have in our life to manifest more of that. You can find out about that if you go to my website also. So check out, I have some workshops listed over there that I'm doing. I'm going to be doing a Make a Manifesting postcard. Started off the new year with one, and we're going to be doing another one coming up, I think in February. I'm not quite sure yet. I don't have the date set, but I'll let you guys know, and you can join me. And that's a Saturday afternoon workshop. But the Manifesting Through Gratitude is 5 weeks from beginning to end, and each week we tap into those areas that I was talking about, like love and our careers and our health and money, and they're a lot of fun, and we're going to be making postcards in there too. So any questions, of course, you can always reach out to me, and I'd be happy to answer, and I hope that you join me because they're a lot of fun. All right, so we're going to be talking about tapping into our creativity. We're going to be talking to author Elizabeth Mugavero, and she writes under a pen name, Cate Conte, and she is the best-selling author of 3 mysteries, 2 with Kensington Books and 1 with St. Martin Press. And as Liz, she writes the Pawsitively Organic Mysteries, the first in which she won an Agatha Award nominee for her best first novel. And in her alter ego, Kate, that hit the scene in 2014 with the Cat Cafe Mysteries, featuring Maddie James, who moves back to Daybreak Island off the coast of Massachusetts and subsequently opens a cat cafe to help with island rescue efforts. Of course, people are murdered along the way, and Maddie discovers she has another skill, solving crimes. But her latest series, which is what I'm reading right now, The Full Moon Mysteries, is a confluence of all her favorite things: witches, crystals, cats, moon phases, and magic. Those are like all my favorite things too. So, featuring Violet Mooney, a 32-year-old witch who has no idea she's a witch, at least until her life is turned upside down. And somewhere along the way, Liz lost her creative mojo and began the long process of her creative recovery. She spent 17 years unlearning all the limiting beliefs and stories that were holding her back through a variety of spiritual techniques and mindset shifts. She found her way to her writing success. This inspired her to become a creativity coach, helping other writers fulfill their creative dreams with a touch of woo-woo. She is the founder of the Creativity Lab web, a membership site for writers. And if you want to find out more about Liz, you can go to her site, which is cateconte.com, CateConte.com. Welcome, Liz. Thanks for being here with me today.
Hey, Melissa. Thank you so much for having me. Your show's right up my alley. I love it.
Oh, good. Good. I hear your dog in the background saying hi.
Sorry.
So all right. So say your positively, so please say your name, the title, because for some reason it's like a tongue twister in my mouth. Pawsitively Organic Mysteries. Did I get it right? Positively.
Yeah, Pawsitively Organic. They just spelled it differently with the, P-A-W-S instead of P-O-S. So
I know, as I'm trying to read it, because I have her bio in front of me, I'm trying to read it, like my tongue is like not, I know, like positively, I could say that, I don't know why I couldn't say positively. Okay, but anyway, so you wrote that one under you as Liz, and then you decided to why did you decide to create an alter ego, Cate?
Yeah, so after my first series had started, I was like 2 or 3 books in, and my agent came to me with a request from another publishing house. They were looking for a series that centered around cats. So in order to fulfill that contract, they wanted me to have a different name. So I chose a pen name for that series, and that's been kind of the name that stuck. Probably because it's easier to say than my original name.
Yeah. No, well, I love it. See, I was telling Liz, I don't usually have like fiction because in my shows I usually have a lot of authors, but it's usually nonfiction, and it's very in the same genre, like the woo-woo genre, right? And I like to talk to people who are doing alternative healing, people who are psychics, people who are channelers, but when we connected, I love the fact that this is the characters that you wrote, and also one of my favorite genre of my reading when I read for fun are mysteries. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be a lot of fun, like reading a mystery, but also that has all this witchy stuff that I love. So what inspired you to start writing in this genre? Did you always want to be a writer as a kid, like when you were little, or?
Yeah, I'm one of those kids who knew really early on what I wanted to do. I loved books. I loved reading. I loved being read to when I was little. Then when I figured out how to read myself, that was all I wanted to do. I was such a nerd. And my grandfather was a police detective, so he brought that love of crime. I mean, he didn't tell me too many things, so I was kind of young and still working, but enough to really pique my interest, and I was always fascinated with crime. My very first research papers when I was a kid was, focused on local crime stories and serial killers, and I mean, I was into all of the things. My parents were a little worried about me, but I loved to write. I loved to make up stories, and yeah, I knew that was what I wanted to do.
Okay. And then now the magical elements, like that, that you tie them together, like what made you want to write in that way? Because your mystery, I read tons of mysteries, and your mystery is different because there is a magical element to it. So what made you want to add that component?
Yeah, I've always been very woo-woo. So, when I was before I knew what crystals were, I was fascinated by rocks. So I loved rocks. And there was a funny story my mother used to tell the people. When I was a little kid, she bought me a doll with a doll carriage. And we were walking through the neighborhood one day, and I was pushing my doll carriage, and some lady stopped and, told my mother how cute I was, and she wanted to see my doll. And I pulled the blanket back in the carriage, and there were just all these rocks that I had picked up on the street. And so I love rocks. And then when I realized I could spend money on rocks, I mean, I was all in. So I got really into crystals and oracle cards, and I've been trying out psychics since I was a teenager. Like, I just love all of that stuff. I love the idea that there's other things out there that are controlling the universe, and just really digging into all things magic. And I went to college in Salem, Massachusetts, so witches have been a huge part of my life. So love all of that. And so when I was talking with my editor after my first series was wrapping up, we were talking about, perhaps doing something paranormal for another series. And he actually came up with the idea of kind of a modern-day Bewitched. which I loved that idea because I loved Bewitched. I love the mother-daughter dynamic. That's something that I write a lot about too in my different series in different ways. So it was perfect. So I just kind of went with it and made it my own.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a fun story. So yes, there's obviously an element of mystery. There's obviously a murder in it, but it's a fun story, and it's really about a young witch who just has discovered she's a witch, and she's uncovering her powers, and she doesn't even really know the depth of her powers. Like, she's discovering it as I'm reading. She's figuring it out as she goes along, and all the interesting characters that she meets along the way. And I like when I was talking in the intro and talking about our creativity. Being a writer, obviously you're tapping into your creativity. And I know that you went through a little bit, you said a slump, like where you were second guessing yourself, you were questioning yourself. And how did you get yourself out of that? Like, how did you let the limiting beliefs not take over and give it up? Because a lot of people do that. A lot of people will they'll try one thing, they get a lot of rejections, and they're like, boom, that's it, I'm done. I'm not even going to bother anymore. And they let their dream die. So what did you do to kind of get yourself through that?
Yeah, 100%. So like I said, I just have always had this really deep desire to be a writer and to write books and to bring stories to people. So I think I'm lucky in the sense where, I feel like that's always been my purpose. And I've done many other things to make a living along the way, but I've always really held on to that. But I think I let myself, when I was young, get really caught up in, the old attitudes of well, that's not a real job. You need to have a plan B. I've come to really hate the term plan B because I feel like that's such a creativity killer for people. And I think people get brought up with this idea, no fault to anyone, but, I think it's beyond some people's scope of mind that something like this can actually be a career, right? And so we get these ideas put into our heads that we're never going to be able to do this. It's not going to make us a living. And so I think we make it hard on ourselves, right? Harder than it probably needs to be because we believe what people have told us. And so along the way, I was always working on stories and books and, figuring out my path. But I let myself get really caught up in the plan B and put way too much energy into other jobs and other things and other ways of making a living. And I kind of lost I lost my mojo for a while. And like I said, I was still writing, but I wasn't getting anywhere. I was totally in my own way. And then someone gave me the book, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Yeah.
And I started working through that book. And I just really started to dig into all of the things that I was taught, that I had believed, and really doing that inner work and kind of coming back to that voice that I knew was true rather than letting everyone else's voices keep dictating the way my future was going to unfold. And so it was really that book that set me on the path, and that led to a lot of inner work and a lot of, establishing my own meditation practices and really digging into different crystals and how I use those to enhance my writing space and, very woo-woo things that some people are like, really? Don't you just sit down and write the book? It's like, you do, but, you need some help along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a writing practice? Like do you write every day? Do you outline your book and then you start from there? Cause I know everybody's so different in their process. So what's your process?
Yeah, my process is weird. I'm trying to get better at, I'm also trying to stop saying I need to get better at things and really define my process. But,
yes.
I have a new focus this year, and it really is going to be, I do try to write every day regardless, because I'm usually on some kind of a deadline, but there are other things that I want to write that are outside of my current contracts, and so this is the year that I'm getting really serious about that. And that's the first thing that's going to be on my calendar every day. And so that is my I don't want to say resolution, but that's just my new approach, and, taking it as a serious employee would, right? Which is what we all need to do if we want to be serious in our careers. So that's one thing. As far as outlining, I have always been more of a, what we call pantsers in the business, meaning, you write by the seat of your pants and you sit down and what comes, comes. But I've written myself into a couple of corners doing that, and that's hard when you're on deadline to, not really know where you're going, and then you start to panic because the book is due, and, you've got to figure out a way out of that. So I have a friend who's very good at plotting. She's bailed me out a few times when I've done that to myself. But now she helps me kind of come to a sort of midpoint between being like a really strict plotter and a pantser. And so with her help, I usually sit down before I start writing a book, and I do this exercise, and she asks me all kinds of questions, and we come up with, maybe 12 to 15 scenes to kind of get the book started. And then I go from there. And I try to plot at least a few scenes ahead now, so I'm not sitting down with that, mindset of, I don't know what I'm writing today, because that's usually what derails me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, as of, I've only written nonfiction so far, and on my to-do list at some point, not saying this year by any means, but I would like to be able to write a mystery because I love them so much, but I wouldn't even know how to go about it. Yeah, I wouldn't even know to go about it at this point, but that is maybe floating around in the ethers for somewhere down the line somewhere.
It's funny that you should say that, because I'm actually launching a course this year. It's actually in a test phase right now, but a digital course called the Mindful Mystery Writers Masterclass.
Ooh, you gotta send me an email when you have it all plotted out.
First establish your writing practice, right? Using the tools we talked about, and then kind of going through the steps, the foundational steps of what it takes to write a mystery.
Yeah. Now, do you get do you think that your ideas are kind of downloaded to you? Because when I wrote my book, I felt like it was downloaded, I was from the universe, it was given to me. And I have a friend who just crossed over from writing nonfiction to fiction, and her story has a very magical theme. She was on my show right before the end of the year from her, Diana Silva from Mole Mama, and her new book is Magical Mocajete, and it's these ants visit her and teach her through the mocajete and teach her how to cook, right? And it has a whole magical thing, and she felt like it was, the ants were actually banging on, to get her attention, she had to write the book. It was she felt like it came from outside of her. Do you feel that way, or do you feel that you more self-create your characters?
I think all writing is channeling on some level.
Yeah,
and
me
I think
too.
It's how open we are, right, to that. Because there are days when I'll sit there and I'll try to force myself into what's the next step in this plot, or, what is this next series going to look like? And it's really hard. But then when I get into that flow of okay, I'm inspired, I'm creating, I'm coming up with ideas, that's when it's easy, and that's when you're opening yourself up to letting the ideas come through you.
Yeah, I think so too. And when you do sit down to start writing, do you have because you said something about you started meditating. Do you do a meditation first and sort of set the space, or, light candles, shut your phone off? Everybody has their little rituals. I'm such a ritual girl. I love setting rituals when I do stuff. So do you have that before you get on your computer?
Yes, for sure. So I try to write in the, I know I'm best in the morning. So every morning, first thing I do when I get up anyway is meditate. And then, of course, I have my coffee, because we're not doing any writing without coffee.
Right.
But then it's, incense or candle, usually depending on my mood. And I have my crystals that I keep around my writing space. So sometimes if I'm up and writing really early, I'll actually just grab my laptop and sit in my bed. But I have all my crystals in that room. And then my desk has a million. I don't even know how the computer fits on it. But, I definitely have my rituals.
Yeah. I think it's really important to set the space, too, because I feel like you're saying to yourself and you're saying to the universe, I'm serious. I'm taking this serious, right? Like I am setting my space. I am setting my attention. I'm taking my work serious. Because when I teach people how to make a manifesting postcard, and then I talk about it on my website too, I always tell everybody before they get started to set the space, whatever that looks like for them, and I give them some recommendations to do, but, shut your phone off, do not disturb, just like a few things to do, maybe sage if you're into that, like candles, put on certain music. Now they have all these frequency tones, which are great for tapping into your creativity. You can listen to in the background. Like there's so many things you do. And I feel like you're saying like, I'm serious here. I want to create something and I want to put it out there. And I think the universe responds in kind because you now have, how many books do you have under your belt? You have at least 9, right?
So my
3?
18th, I'm wrapping up my 18th right now.
Wow. That's amazing. Because I knew from the 3 series that you talk about, that we talked about in your bio, you have 3 books in each series, correct? Is that what it was? 3 in each series, or does the first one have more?
Yeah, no, I have 3 series total. My first series has 7 books. My second series, I'm working on book 8, and then my third series has 3.
Wow. So you work on 2 different series at the same time?
Sometimes.
Oh my Lord! Yeah,
yeah, and
that's
then I
amazing.
Try to pace it out, so I'm doing one at the beginning of the year, one at the end. It depends. Like right now, I'm back to just one series. So this past year was just one book. So yeah.
Yeah, and anybody who does do writing knows that it's not just writing the book, right? Then it's the edits. When you go into the edits, which is a whole other animal of, refining it, and you have to go over it and over and over it. So we're going to talk more about your process, and I have some questions for any wannabe authors out there to ask you when we come back. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. I have lots more to find out.
Conscious media for conscious minds. Om Times. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Everyone has a story. I have a story. You have a story. We all have a story. As I see it, you have 3 choices. Allow your story to define you, use it to excuse you, or utilize it as a method to empower you. It's your life. You have the power. You choose. Rewrite your story on finduniquelyyou.com.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. ascendinghearts.com.
Hi, I'm Melissa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on Om Times Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, Creating the Life You Crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives. Welcome back. So Liz, I was thinking during the break, for those listening, like, how do you find, if somebody's thinking, God, I would love to write a book, how do people find their voice as a writer?
Yeah, I think, a lot of it is you have to read a lot. Stephen King always says, if you don't have time to read, you don't have time to write. I think it's reading a lot. I think it's figuring, not to copy anyone's voice, but to kind of see what resonates with you, to see what types of books you like. And then I think it's just a lot of practice. You have to try different kinds of writing. You have to try different points of view, try different genres until you find what fits you the best.
Now, your process, are you traditionally published? Is your publisher traditional, or do you self-publish, or what are they, indie publishers now? So what, right? There's all these different.
I'm traditionally published for my 2 series. I am thinking about, other options for certain other things going forward, but haven't really gotten there yet. But there's so many options today. It's so great. Like when I was first starting out, self-publishing wasn't as widely accepted as it is today. So there are so many more options for people today. I think it's great. Yeah.
How do you feel that, because there's a conflicting, and I just wanted to get your personal opinion on it. Do you feel that because of self-publishing that the market is saturated? Too saturated?
I don't think so. I mean, look, people who love to read. So they're always looking for books, right? I don't think there's going to be too many books.
Yeah.
I think it's just about getting yourself out there and getting yourself found. And even if you have a traditional publisher and you're not like the biggest name on their list, you still have to work to get yourself found.
Oh yeah.
They'll do some stuff for you, but you need to do a lot of it yourself. So no, I don't think you could ever have too many books.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I do think, though, I have to say, for those who do go the self-publishing route, I do recommend hiring a professional editor. I do recommend doing that. Yeah, because I have found just from doing the show for so many years and people sending me their books, when some people that self-publish who don't hire a professional editor, you can tell the difference. And I really think that, because when you do go the traditional route, they give you the editors. You go, you have your editor, then you have your line editor, and you go through everything, and it just cleans it up very nicely, right? It cleans up your book real nice, because I have found when I wrote my book, and then I kept saying the same thing over and over again, just in a different way. I'm like, oh my God, they got to clean that up. So that's important.
I would even say like having 2 different types of editors is important, right?
Yeah.
So you have a developmental editor to help with your story, your actual storyline, and your pacing and your overall story, and then you have your copy editor and your line editor, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Now you also went the agent route, right? You have an agent?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those who don't and are really interested in pursuing this as a career, how do you go about finding an agent?
Yeah, so it's probably one of the most asked questions that I get. So when I started out, I figured out that I wanted to write mysteries. So from there, I started I just started Google. I was very green, so I started Googling, mystery writer conferences. And from there, I found a couple that, to this day I still attend. And I started just going and meeting people. And a lot of these conferences have agents and editors come to the conference. They'll do panels, and then they'll do pitch sessions, so you can actually bring something to pitch to them. so I started doing that. I mean, pitching is very nerve-wracking because you have like a very limited time and you have to be really, really succinct and have a really good hook and try to get their interest in like 5 minutes. It's very stressful. I did this for 10 years. I mean, I was going to conferences, I was writing, I was editing, I was pitching, I was practicing pitches, all of the things. I was querying.
Yeah.
You can go to writersmarket.com and find agents. You can go to Publishers Weekly and look up or Publishers Marketplace and look up agents and query that way, through email and such. But ultimately, how I ended up getting an agent was I joined a national group called Sisters in Crime, and then from there I joined one of their local chapters. And back in 2011, an agent had reached out to this local chapter, and they asked for interested authors who might want to develop cozy mystery proposals with them. And so the president of the chapter put the request out to the entire membership, and a bunch of us contacted this agent. We worked with him, and a number of us that's how we got our first contract.
Oh, that's great. So that's interesting that you said cozy mystery. So what do you classify your books? Or you're kind of an author you are. So what is it? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So my 3 series that are out are cozies.
Okay.
The one you're reading is a paranormal cozy. I consider myself a mystery writer because I am looking to branch out into other genres within mystery and crime. But the series I have are definitely cozy. Yeah.
Well, that's what makes them fun, because some of the authors that I do read, and the mysteries are, if there's a crime element to it, some of them are very graphic and some of them are really hard, and you would never consider those cozy.
Yeah.
So
parameters that people expect when they pick up a cozy. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just fun, and it was so. When I was reading your book, I was like laughing because the names that you have for your book. So, I had a cat named Zoe and a dog named Fiona and a cat named Maisie and a cat named Maisie, and I was like, oh my God, that's so funny! All my animals are her characters' names in her book.
That's awesome.
So
even funnier than that, my favorite crystal store, they name their crystals. And I actually found crystals named Fiona and Violet. And
my
names
God.
For my other series. Yeah, hilarious. I had to buy them all.
I love it. And there's one character that their last name was Merlino, and that's my mom's maiden last name. I was like, this is so weird. I guess I was meant to read this book. It's so funny. So, okay, my second book is at places right now, like the book proposal. So I don't think you have to do a book proposal in fiction, right? You don't have to do a book proposal. I have to do a book proposal for nonfiction. So it's being queried right now. So I'm waiting, but I find, and this is me and maybe a lot of other people are, so as I'm sitting here waiting, I kind of feel like I'm in a creative, as far as writing goes, separate from my photography, like a slump. So how do we get out of what do you call it? Creative recovery. Like, how do I get myself out of that? And anybody else who's listening right now, how do I get out of that?
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know if you journal, but I am a huge journaling fan. So again, this is a practice I started after reading the artist. I'd always dabbled in journaling.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people who I'm very perfectionist. So I was always like, I don't know if I'm doing this right, which is so silly, right? It's a journal. You don't need to do it right. Nobody's grading you. But once I read The Artist's Way, I started doing morning pages every day.
Yeah.
And those morning pages have truly saved my life. I mean, because it's really just a brain dump.
Yeah.
Every morning, pretty much when you wake up, of just getting all the crap out of your head. And I think for me, that opened up a lot of space that I could then, go back to my inspired work. So that's been a huge practice that I do to stay creative. Also, I've been trying to have more fun. I find that going out to a museum or going out, and a couple of friends and I did this, one of those painting classes the other night, for a fundraiser, just stuff like that. It opens up a new channel in your brain I think it allows more creative inspiration to come through rather than just doing the same thing, staring at your computer hoping that some inspiration will strike. I think it's just kind of mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah. I did The Artist Way myself, and I talked about it in a while. I haven't talked about it in a while because it was a few years ago. And I did the morning pages. I would probably say for about a good year, and that really, really did help me when I was writing the previous book. So it's been a while though, and maybe it's something I should start doing again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good book for creatives who want to clear out the junk so that they can get to work on what it is that they want to pursue. And if somebody wanted, because you do, so when you talk about your creative coaching, what does that look like working with you as a creative coach?
Yeah, so my main source of coaching is in my membership. So people can join the membership. We do a lot of co-writing. So I think the biggest thing about the membership is it gives people community. It gives people accountability. So there's a group of us, we have different sessions throughout the week. So there's some early in the morning, there's some midday, there's some in the evenings, there's some on the weekends. We get together, we, pull some oracle cards, we kind of set our intentions, and then we turn our cameras off and we write for, 25 minutes. Then we come back, we kind of do a little debrief, and then we do it again. So we do that a number of times a week. And then also we have a community. I told you I like to do a lot with cards. So they get a workbook every month that's all based on a monthly tarot card, including prompts and, mindset, like prompts on how to, kind of where your mind is, where your mind wants to be, kind of just doing like little mindset resets. We talk a lot about, again, mindset. So, yeah, we spend a lot of time really just kind of lifting each other up and making sure that, everyone's clear on what they want to do and that they're trying to do something every day just to keep their creative selves alive. And having a community to bounce ideas off of and things like that really seems to be helping people.
Yeah, because you've created a membership for people, but you do talk about that a writer needs a strong community, right? Why do you think writers need a strong community? Because it's so isolating when we write. I mean, you're really by yourself.
It's a solo job, right? And so if that's if you're lucky enough that that's your only job, that's great, but it's also like you don't, maybe once or twice a year you see people at conferences or you get on a Zoom and do an event, but you're not really interacting with people that much. So if you have people that you can, and I think there's different levels of community too, right? For me, I have 5 ladies that I've been blogging with since the beginning, and we're kind of, we're always on email in the background and like, oh, this happened, and how did you handle this? And, there's kind of that level of community. Then there's the bigger groups that, again, you might do some write-ins with and just be kind of co-writing, knowing there are other people on the other end of the phone or people that you're plotting with. I do have some friends, like I mentioned before, that we get together and we plot if we're stuck. And, that's also something that we do in my membership. If somebody has a plot problem, we talk that through and they can get different ideas from people. So it's a way to combat the isolation. It's a way to keep you motivated and inspired. And it's just good for the soul. Yeah. It's interesting. And I'm thinking about, especially when you talk about plotting, I mean, if you're writing a mystery, right? I mean, the whole point of the mystery is not to reveal the whodunit too early in the book, right? And I always wonder, like, and if they're very good, there's usually some Easter eggs or clues somewhere along the way that leads without revealing too much. So how do you craft a story like that? Like, let's say you're writing your story, you have a murder, you have a mystery, you obviously know who committed the murder, right? You already have that out. So how do you know how to do the reveal and not let it come too quick? Like, is it just practice because you've been writing for so long in this kind of genre that you just sort of know how to do it? Yeah, I mean, it's practice, and it's a lot of intuition. You know, as you write more and as you kind of get more of these books under your belt, you have that intuition of like where things should go. I'm actually, like I said, wrapping up a book right now, and I'm doing a little bit of that. I do know who the murderer is. Which the book is due very soon. But I am, what I tend to do is I tend to like not talk about the murderer that much, in my first draft at all. And then when I'm doing my edits, I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, that's not fair. We can't just have this person come in at the end and be the killer. The readers have to be engaged and able to have a chance to solve this mystery. So then it's about kind of going back in and figuring out in the pacing where those red herrings and where those clues need to come in, to keep this person in the mix but not give away too much. So it's a lot of, fine-tuning and crafting and revising. Yeah, and a lot of it's happening right up to the very end for me, so.
I imagine that's how it would be that's how it was with the nonfiction, so I imagine that's how it would be if I ever tackled fiction. So let's talk a little bit about marketing, because every author I know, artist I know, photographer, painter, marketing ourselves. We have to market ourselves. So what would you recommend for people who have books out there and are trying to get it to readers? What do you use? Like, is there a certain social media you like over others? Is there something you do? How much support are you getting from your publisher?
Yeah, I think you have to know, who your ideal reader is, right? And then you have to figure out where they are.
Right.
So if they're on Facebook, you're going to want to spend time on Facebook. If they're on Instagram, you want to spend some time on Instagram. But really what you want to do is get them onto your email list, because that's where that's the most captivating audience, right? They're the people who have signed up to get your emails and want to stay on top of, what you're doing. So definitely getting people on your email list and keeping that nurturing email sequence up with them, so they know what you're doing, how you're doing it. Readers love to hear about writing process. They don't, they love the books, but they also are really fascinated by how the books get written. So sharing things with them about your life and how you write and your writing space. And, my readers love animals. They love to follow my books because they have a lot of animals in them. So they love seeing pictures of my dogs and, hearing about what they're up to. And so really just cultivating that relationship, I think, is really important. So
what do you spend most of your time on Instagram?
I do Instagram and Facebook, because I do still have a lot of people on Facebook. It's not my platform of choice, but if that's where the people are, then that's where you got to go, right? So. Yeah.
Are you just curious, are you doing videos? Are you venturing into TikTok?
I've made a promise to myself that this year I'm going to get better at video. Again, we're doing the getting better thing, but I'm very introverted, and I've always shied away from videos. But I know I have to get out there more. I'm trying to do it for my business. I have to do it for my books as well. So, yeah. I noticed. Promise now, I'm going to show up more in video.
Well, I noticed. With TikTok, there's a market there for book. They call it book talkers. If you're book talking and that's your hashtag, and I'm seeing it more and more because I started doing it last year. That was one of my intentions last year, to start doing it, and I started releasing the videos, and I'm gonna start doing more. Because I've been reading from the book, but I'm going to start doing more videos where I'm talking about my processes, just more like organic of me just showing up and being on video without like reading from the book. So, I do notice that there is, there's a place for it over there, and people really, really like it. And it's interesting because everybody thought, TikTok, for the younger kids and the dancing, and it's just moved way beyond that, especially for creatives and especially for us authors. So that's pretty amazing.
Definitely. I do think Threads is also going to be interesting.
I haven't ventured into Threads yet because I just have so much that I'm doing. It's like, I don't know if I can take off another thing.
Yeah, well, Threads just started like one of those author hashtags. I forget what it is, but the author hashtags are now starting to pop up on Threads, and I'm seeing a lot more of that. So that's going to be an interesting, because I think Threads is, obviously taking the best of what used to be Twitter.
Yes.
And kind of recreating it. So we should have a few years before the trolls start to show up on Threads, hopefully.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, because Twitter's not even Twitter anymore. It's like X or something. I don't even know what it is. Yeah. Marketing is... it's hard for I have found, using those words is, like you said, is not good. But I found it's more challenging for creatives is to switch from being in the creative space and that vibration of creativity to switching over to the business and like, okay, how am I going to market myself? It's not as easy as it is for some people. Do you have a marketer? Did you hire a marketing team to market your book?
So you want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
Marketing is what I do, like, during the day for my...
Oh, so then you know how to do it.
Right, but it's one of those things where you can always do it better for someone else.
Yes.
So I have not really... I do have some help with social media here and there, but I have not hired, like, a marketing firm. So...
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you know all the little tips that you would do for other people, you could just do for yourself.
Yeah, but again, it's easier to do it for them.
It is. Well, your books, so how are your books mostly getting seen, like spread? Is it through word of mouth? A lot of books are word of mouth. Is it people like the reviews? Do you get a lot of good reviews on Goodreads or Amazon or Barnes & Noble? Like how are people finding you think?
Yeah, I think in a variety of ways, right? I'm trying to stay active, but people know my name now, so that's nice. Right? People know when a book is coming out. My latest Cat Cafe book was featured in Woman's World in October.
Oh, nice.
So that was really cool. Yeah, and that was actually fun because it's a mix. Thank you. But it's a mix of there's a dead psychic in it. There's a haunted house. There's all kinds of cold cases. There's ghosts. So that one I tried to bring a little bit of the paranormal into my non-paranormal series. So different things. My publisher will try to find different avenues like that to kind of bring some extra interest to it, which is nice. There's a lot of animal-related publications that have reviewed my books, which is cool because people who love animals are always people I want in my world. So that's been really fun.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. Yeah, I know. I gotta go over to the cat mystery series when I'm finished with this one and check it out. It's on Audible, right? It's on Audible?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, because Audible's my favorite way to read. I love listening to books, so I definitely like to go on Audible. So for anybody who's thinking, there's so many mixed opinions out there. Everybody has an opinion, but there's so many people that like really feel like they have a good story to tell, but they just are afraid to take the leap, or they hear like, oh, publishing has changed, it's not the same, don't even bother. What would you say to those people who are listening?
I would say if you have any kind of a desire or an urge to write, you need to sit down and write. And you don't need to worry about what's going to happen after. You don't need to worry about who your agent's going to be. You don't need to worry about how you're going to publish it. You just need to write a really good book, and then you go from there. But you have to write the book before you can worry about any of those other things. And if you're called to write a book, then you have to write the book.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's so many good stories out there and that need to be told, right? And people need to hear them and read them and see them. And, and I love what's happening, especially since we've gone on streaming with Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff, how many books have been made into series, which is really great. Yeah. Instead of the same old movie being made over and over and over again, like I'm nothing against, sorry if you don't like Fast and Furious, but how many have they made? Like 20,000 already?
Yeah.
Like.
Yep, I hear you.
Yeah, so.
Someone said to me once that, if you have something that the world needs and you are too afraid to share it, then you're actually being selfish by holding it back. And that really stuck with me because, like, you know, again, when I'm hesitating about going on social media or, you know, offering something to someone or, you know, promoting my membership, whatever it is, and I feel kind of weird about it, then I think about that and I'm like, no, what if somebody actually needs this? Who am I to not offer it to them?
That's a good way to think about it. Yeah. I did hear that. I've never heard it that way, but I have heard that they said if you have a fantastic idea, there's a million ideas floating out in the universe, and if there's a fantastic idea that comes into your head and you don't grab onto it, it's going to go, it'll float away, and somebody else will.
Yeah,
so yeah.
Said that.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it was? Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love
it. Yep.
Good. I'm glad you sourced it for me. That's such a good author over there. She just gave me the source. Well, Liz, I mean, we only have like a minute. So is there anything that you want to leave the audience with, and then let everybody know the best way to connect with you, especially if they're interested in joining your membership?
Yeah, for sure. And again, I just think, you know, if you want to write, just write. It's such a gift to the world, and it's a gift to yourself. And, you know, being creative is such a privilege. I think you should grab onto it. And yeah, anyone who's looking for anything about my books or anything that I offer, you can find me at cateconte.com.
Yeah. Yeah, and connect with her and check out her site. I love your book covers, by the way. So I love the did you have any say in that? Or
yeah,
was
they usually ask me for some ideas, and then they'll send me a design to review, and I can have some input. So that's been a cool process. My covers are always amazing.
Yeah, your covers are amazing. Well, thank you so much, Liz. I really enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you for being with me. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Peace.